important.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Because actually there are a lot of people who are doing things in other ways to try and preserve the legacy of something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
noticed that too.
important. It's so important. I just wish that every family in America would do this for themselves. It's the gift that you really do give to yourself, because as we learned recently, Susie's father passed away. When they're gone, it's too late.
Right.
So
Well, you know, even
you
if
have
they
to
get
do
sick, I was
this.
thinking of that on the way over, that it isn't even just that somebody's gone, but
Right.
once they're sick, if they're in the hospital or something, that's not the time
No,
to be.
that's
You
not the
want to
time.
remember them the way they were when they
Exactly.
were
You can't take a
active and
picture
vital.
of them, right,
Right.
doing
Yeah.
what they love, surrounded by the
Well,
things
and
they
when,
love.
When they're surrounded by all that, they're not really thinking about their past and the things that, that they
Exactly.
feel good about.
Good
And-
point,
Right.
yes.
No, that's absolutely true. And I so respect the people who call up and say, for instance, my father-in-law is 95 years old and he's a survivor of the Holocaust. And I don't have the time to sit down with him and
Right.
get all of his stories down, but I
Right.
want you to come and do it.
Right, right.
And what we
I'm
have
there.
found also is that it's better if someone who's not in the family sits down and
Right.
interviews them, because
Right.
then they feel like, oh, this is fresh. There's no history between us. I can tell you things. You know,
Right.
there's an
Right.
openness that they
Right.
have that they
Right.
don't really have with their family.
Yeah.
And even with the best of intentions, sometimes, Karen, you sit down with someone in your family and you get to a wall with them, you know, or you get to a psychological wall with them. So
They'll say things like, oh, you know that story.
Exactly.
Oh,
was
I
thinking
told you
when you
that
said that,
story.
the thing is that they assume that you've already heard the story,
Right.
or that you're not interested, or that they would have told you if you had been interested. Or
Exactly.
They're a complete stranger. It is the different. It's a totally different psychology. Of the
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So
And you
it's-
do this one-on-one with them. Nobody else is in the room when you do
I
it.
do not allow anybody else in the room.
Right.
In
Nobody.
fact, how it happens is we do a design session with them when we figure out how we're going to proceed. That's a separate time. And then I come in and do the photos first, anything they want, including older photos.
Right.
And then
And other
Rosie,
family members and-
Right.
Oh,
exactly.
absolutely.
And then Rosie does
Absolutely.
the interview, and then we combine them, and it's
Well,
a
what I was
beautiful
thinking, my
thing.
family actually, and we had sat down with tape recorders and heard and did a lot of stories of things in the past. But one of the things that's a little different is because a lot of people aren't in a position where they're willing to do that themselves or able, have the time or whatever.
Right.
But also, when you were talking about the story program that was picked up by
National
National
NPR,
Public Radio,
yeah.
is that a person has to know their story. And the thing is that a lot of people don't know their story. They're not used to articulating the story. They haven't.
That's right.
They haven't organized it. They haven't coalesced it down into a
That's an
cohesive thing. And what you're doing
interesting
is providing a cohesive story out of what they give you, the pieces that they give
Yes.
you.
Yes.
And I think that's a great value that
It's
you offer. Yeah.
It's a very
Yes,
good point,
because-
because some people will say, I don't have a story, I have nothing to say.
Right.
And then you get them started and you realize they do have a story, and like you say, you're facilitating them to be able to say it.
One of the stories, one of the ladies that I interviewed actually said, you know, on mic, when I was recording, she says, I don't know what I'm going to talk about.
They always start out
Always start out like that. And I just proceeded to say, well, let's just start at the beginning,
Yeah.
which is what we do.
Right.
She gave me one of the most lasting images, the visualization of this, when she was young, and she was growing up in New Jersey. Her mother would take her down to the lake to go ice skating every winter, but her mother never wore anything but high-heeled shoes when she went out of the house, and her fur coat. And she would walk through the mud to take her daughter to the lake to go ice skating,
What a
standing
visual.
there in her high heels and her fur coat. Now, I just thought that was absolutely glorious, you know, the visualization of that. People just love talking, and they forget about the fact that there's a microphone there.
Right. Right. It takes a little while, but they do. Yeah.
Well, actually, you know, when there's a video camera there,
Yes.
they're much more conscious of
Right,
the fact, you
right,
know, that
right.
there's a video. Oh,
Right.
how do I look? You know?
Right, right.
But if it's just audio
Right.
and just, you know, the two of us talking, they're a little less, conscious of that, and they just start talking. Oh my gosh.
Well, you do also do some video, don't you? You have a videographer.
We
that you
have
work
that
with sometimes?
available.
Yes, we do.
And we can do that, but that is not part of the basic
right,
plan.
right.
But we do have add-ons, and
Right.
that is definitely included.
yes,
and
we'll-
some people
we'll do
actually
it.
want video,
Yeah.
and we provide that for them, yes.
Well, you actually have some of those up on YouTube. I watched them, and on
Yes.
the website, the Legacy Project USA. And that was fun to watch, to see what
Oh,
you...
good. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if people want to, the Legacy Project USA is a really great way to just get started. There's a few questions, and people can find out how it works and just a little more about it.
Right, right. So where would you like to take this? Because you say USA.
Everywhere.
So
Are you kidding? Worldwide. We've got Legacy Project USA, right? We want to do Legacy Project Europe, Legacy Project Asia, whatever. Yeah, we'll go anywhere at any time. Just give us the word. As somebody asked us if we would go out to Montana,
Oh, yes.
and
One of my clients. Yeah.
I'm there. I'm there.
Also,
I have no
Palm
resistance.
Springs would be a really good place to do this.
Yes.
in the winter.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
because there's people out there who are older, and
Yeah. Well, we're lucky. We don't have any kids. We don't have any,
Right.
responsibilities,
Right.
so we can go
Right,
anywhere
right.
anybody wants us.
I just wanted to show one other book. This was something of actually someone who we had interviewed, the mother of someone we had interviewed here on the show, Pearl
Yes.
Boyle, a
Yes.
couple of times. And this was a nice shot that
Yes.
of the
Yep.
of the two of them, and it's really nice because it's not just a picture of them; it's a picture of the
Her
person
home.
interacting with them and how
Yes.
they loved. I mean, you can
They're-
see the love in the picture.
There's Pearl
This-
and her mom.
Yeah,
Colleen,
that's
are
Pearl
wonderful.
Boyle and her mother, Colleen Plantinga.
Yeah, their
And this
home in
was the first
Westport.
time that they had ever been photographed together.
Really?
As
Yes.
adults, yes.
Yes.
As
Interesting.
adults. Yes.
And they were
Interesting.
going through some of their old photos together, and they were laughing so hard. It was just so sweet. And, sitting in front of the piano and showing, because Colleen likes to paint, so she was painting
Right,
flowers.
right.
And,
You do capture that in this, the
and
pictures of her
just things
painting.
that were important to her that she kept around the house after her husband died. We just thought it was, it gave us some great ideas for
Yeah.
our next project. So.
Well, one of the things I find nice about the whole thing is that you're focusing on what's important to the person that you're interviewing,
Oh, yes.
as opposed to just the person who is asking for this. So,
Yes.
and I think a lot of times the families don't know what's really important to, and a lot of times that may come out, that memories that come up are things that they didn't realize that were so important, and they were such, either milestones to this person, or you can sort of see where their focus of what they remember. I always say that in interviewing somebody for the show, that people either focus on the past, or they focus on the present, or they focus on the future. There's always a mix in there, but there's a predominance of that. And I think sometimes we don't realize that that's the way people are feeling. And so you can tell whether somebody's really today oriented or whether they're really past oriented. Because as you say, it's all different ages, so it doesn't have to be people who are extremely older.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, I wouldn't want even my sisters to tell my story. I would want to tell my own story because they don't know what's important to me, like you say. And, I think each of us feels that way, too. You wouldn't want your sister
No way.
or
No.
anybody in your family necessarily
No.
telling your
Oh,
story.
right.
So,
No, I'll tell my own
let
story.
each individual tell their own story, and then they'll get it right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we only have about 3 minutes left. I did want to talk about I know, we do want to talk
Serious?
about the other things that you're doing.
Okay.
Now, you also are singer-songwriters, and
Yes.